Hey, can you guys hear me? Are you guys up? Sweet. What's up, guys? We're just going to do a little quickie right now. Just get some thoughts and some follow-up from yesterday, because we're all on kind of the same page. Did anyone play CVSI on that drop this morning? We had, yeah, so I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. You know, some of us were trying to dip by this guy and, you know, made a couple $100, whatever it was, but you had to be safe. Let's get to the chart again. Hey, where'd the chart go? Where's my chart? There's the chart. But we're playing it safe because it was first red day. And just going through the daily chart history, obviously, kind of trying to take that into account. You know, it was consensus. This thing likes to pull for a couple of days. Usually there's a second red day. After a little run, it goes red day, second red day. And this is like a, you know, very simple technical analysis, just analyzing the daily chart and understanding how this stock in particular likes to move. You know, it forms a pretty definitive pattern here. So get strong moves, 2 red days. Today was the second red day. Kind of like we said, that's why you didn't necessarily want to hold in a close. Better play was just to sell into that to sell into the pop, to sell into this quick bounce, and then wait for the day 2 panic, which happened right out the gate. It tried to push. I said anything towards 220, and definitely anything towards 2 is kind of where I wanted to get in. I probably would have grabbed a couple thousand shares, but I wasn't watching this morning. I didn't actually get to trade the open, so. So there was a pretty sweet little play there. Let's see. David was waiting for the 215 area, but didn't get in. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. You know, this is one of those situations where you kind of have to start in really small. If you're under PDT, it obviously makes it more difficult because you have to worry about day trades, but that's okay. Link not working for him. 1 second. Let me pull up the link and post it in there for you guys. Boom. One sec. Is everyone in now? I should have gone to the live stream page and seen there were only 3 of you in here. Whoops. Okay. Sorry, didn't have time to organize this one, just kind of threw it up. Okay, sweet. Let's go. Okay. Sorry, guys. Let me get organized real quick. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. All right. Anyway, so I was just discussing CVSI. I don't know if any of you caught this dip. I know David said that he was a little late to it. But I wasn't trading the market open, so I missed it. But we did discuss yesterday during that webinar about this kind of very recognizable pattern that's forming just on the daily on CVSI, where it likes to run and then pull for 2 days. So that's why anyone dip buying yesterday, should have pretty much been out into the bounce on this dip in the afternoon. So we did get the second red day right off the bat. It would have been a great dip buy. That was a sick bounce. 230, 270, 40 cents of upside there, and it's pushing 280 into close, so that's sick. I'm currently long SSLJ, which is actually climbing still. And this is kind of what I wanted to go over. And let's see, I have actually averaged up a little bit. I know Joe caught this in the ones, which is sweet, and he sold it into the 130s. I have a position in the low 130s now. I've got 6,000 shares at $1.32. And let's kind of go through it. I missed the morning spike. I actually didn't even get to this chart until the afternoon. It had already reclaimed VWAP. And I've been watching it from about this point. And I'm a little chasey, which does kind of bother me. I'm a little chasey. They're still high of the day above me. I don't have huge size. I've got okay size. Right about the sweet spot where I want to be, where I can add if it pulls back to 120-ish, 130-ish. Kind of risking this 115 level. I don't want it to get out, I don't want it to be closing all the way near its lows going into close at this point with only 2 hours left in the day. But let's kind of get into it. So here's the daily chart on SSLJ. That's freaking ugly. Normally to me this shouts offering, like some sort of offering, and then I have to be aware of some warrants at like $2 or something like that. So immediately go check the news, and kind of here's what I came up with. Let me see. 1 second. Let's see here. SSLJ. Sorry, 1 sec. Okay. So we have this PR. The daily chart, we've had, a big gap down from $3, and it hit as low as 60 cents or so yesterday. Reason being is that another company, Leju Fortune, a peer-to-peer lending company controlled by Mr. Wei Zhang, the same former CEO who just resigned over here. So the reason for this was that resignation, and he's having some serious issues with his other company. But this is a completely separate legal entity. They fired him as CEO, and basically they're blaming all of this on this other company. Happens to be the same CEO. So in other words, what they're trying to say is that there's nothing to see here, and this should never have occurred because, yeah, okay, anytime a CEO resigns, that's very bad. Okay, don't get me wrong. No, this is not unwarranted. Like, you see this happen when CEOs or SEOs resign. But that being said, this lost a ton of its value over the span of this period of time due to his other company going down. So that's kind of the idea behind this trade. I'm thinking if it actually can reclaim and get into this 2 range, you'll probably get a nice rip again. The float's mediumly, no, I'm sorry, mediumly is not a word. The float's decently low. It's doing really, really good volume on a Friday afternoon and pushing its highs, pushing its day highs now. I am tempted to take some profits and start doing that. But like I said, I'm kind of looking for a bigger picture move, which is a gap fill scenario, which to me, you know, normally I'm not looking for this, but in this case, with this kind of reversal and this PR and updates to come and whatnot, they are looking for another, qualified management, whatever it is. I don't care about the news that much, but this is the kind of chart on day one, the kind of float that can move, and obviously no financings in place to stifle this gap. This is a really strong reversal on big volume. Like all these other days, it's been doing kind of abnormal volume to the downside, obviously, but we are getting a sweet bounce on record volume type stuff. So I wish I would have caught, seen this whole setup midday and been able to speak about it. But, on the 1 minute chart, we had some halts and some real good action earlier with decent volume. VWAP fail, a nice crack, and then another consolidation and push upwards, and now then VWAP reclaim. Like I do like this, especially because a lot of this halt action was on good volume for that period of time, but just such a small period of time. There wasn't that much volume that was able to occur during that period of time. So for me, I am looking for a gap up, gap fill kind of strategy here. It may not work out, and I should be taking profits here in the close. I'll take a little bit and lock it in just in case something happens overnight. I have a small position, but it's not a very small position, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the idea behind this trade. I know probably a part of me is just itching to trade, and I'm just have to feed the beast once in a while. And I think that's part of what's going on. I should be taking profits, but I'm talking to you guys. So I am going to concentrate on the trade too. But I am going to try to be a little bit patient and see if we can't get a nice day two here. I think the catalyst to the downside, maybe it got a little overdone. But this is a first green day. It's really strong bounce, huge volume, no financing in place to stifle the move. That's just kind of where I'm at. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad, guys. I got to look down at the questions more. You guys got to put me in check way quicker. But thanks, John. So here's the 1 minute. Here's the daily. Obviously, we were speaking about it. Here's this gap I was speaking about to 3. No financings here that are going to mess this up for me. And it's not just me, it's short sellers, it's other people looking to short at some sort of predictable level with warrants and stuff. It's not there. It did just pull pretty hard right now, but it's also in an uptrend, and a pretty steady uptrend on steady volume now with increasing volume. Here's the trend I'm talking about, just on the 1 minute trend line. Boom, very simple. 3 higher lows, pushing high day. So cup and handle, or ascending whatever, ascending channel, ascending triangle, it's wedging, like whatever. There's so many terms for what's happening right now. But I just like the price action, and more importantly, the catalyst to what's happening with this bounce. Like I said, SEOs stepping down, never a good thing. But it's also possible with the current action and kind of what's happening with the AWX, maybe we'll start getting some squeezes again. And either way, my risk is under control. I'm in a winning position right now. Things are good. I'm going to try to be a little bit patient here. I haven't been in a trade in a while. I've had 2 trades this last week and a half, and I know a very small part of me is doing this because of that. But you can't deny this chart right now. All this volume here, I mean, this any of the volume that occurred over this price level right now, which is now basically double topped at 160, but this candle was only 60,000 in volume. So I'm not taking it all that seriously. Although high a day is very important. You can see the 30-minute chart here, how it's setting up. And you can see the volume change here. This is big. This is important to me. Something important's happening, and it may not work. That's fine. But at least to me, I know that there's something happening, if that makes sense to you guys. John asked, do I use diagonal trend lines often? Yeah, I use them all the time. And it's just to keep a visual representation of what's going on. And a lot of people use trend lines. I also want to know if that trend line breaks down, and it's for peace of mind for me. Same thing on like the 5-minute chart. You know, you can see it here as well. And it's something that I'll throw on all my charts if it's there. And now that doesn't necessarily make or break a trade for me. Or make me want to, I've like in the past, I've struggled with trend lines because like if it breaks down, but I see another trend line, maybe I'll kind of follow that. But there's usually one discernible trend, and you can kind of tell when it's over. So this is telling me, like this chart here is telling me if I want to add, I could add on a pool to 130-ish, 135 even, but I don't want to start just adding, right here when this breaks down. Maybe VWAP holds then, and I'm still got to focus on my risk of like 110, 115. Tom said is the signal to start watching it after it breaks VWAP and then pulls back and holds, because while it's consolidating day one, clearly holding that level, still midday and well below VWAP at that time. Yeah, totally. Like if it's well below VWAP, I mean, for the most part, sometimes you'll get good risk reward. And if you really like the catalyst, and or something in the price action, then yeah, by all means, like you can start in small here. I've done that before. Not in this current climate with the markets the way they've been. I haven't been taking this trade. It's become more low odds. It's more the higher odds of a fade lately. But like I said, in a scenario like this, which it doesn't come around often, but I've seen it many times now. But in a scenario where a stock's going down on supposed news that people don't really know anything about, and then the company comes out and says, hey, like the reason that it dropped is not what should be happening because so and so, whatever, even though if they're full of shit, which they most likely are, it's a Chinese company, we have no clue. It's still a decent catalyst to the upside when it's been tanking so hard on low volume. Like today's volume wipes out all the volume in the last several days. So that's why catalyst is important. It's not just the chart pattern. We've seen this chart pattern all week and they've just died out. And this could have double topped at 160 already and is now, but it looks like a pretty strong move with volume, which is important. I'm tempted to add, but I'm still not convinced. I'm not convinced on, with this current market climate. I'm just not convinced. So I'm still trying to be cautious. But patient. You know what I mean? So like here's the thing. When you guys get into trades, and if you have a thesis and it's sound in your head, then give it a go. But stick to your plan. Try to be patient. Try to have conviction. Right now I'm thinking possible gap up. And that there's some more upside in this, especially if it breaks high day at $160. This is pretty important territory that we're in up here. 162 on this day, 159 on this day. But then, we're looking at our last bit of chart resistance here at like $1.84. So it's not even $2, it's like $1.84, and then we're in gap territory. So this is something where, you guys know I don't like gap ups and I don't like gap downs when I'm trying to go long and we're near that gap, because normally reeks of a financing. But in this case, there's no financing. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a bigger picture move on this. And I could be totally wrong. This thing could just break down. It's Friday afternoon, which is not my favorite time to trade. In fact, it's one of my least favorite times to trade. But I'm itching to trade too, guys. You know, freaking human. John asked if I'd been watching all day, where would I have entered? I kind of wrote it off when it cracked below VWAP earlier. And I would have too, pretty much, the way things have been going. But for me, this perk up in volume right here at 1 o'clock, back over VWAP and then VWAP hold, this got my attention. Like, this is literally what got my attention. And then you look back, it's not done too much volume above this level, you know? It's right up near its highs. And as far as I'm concerned, this chart's completely intact going into the close. I mean, I would be surprised if this doesn't break high a day going into close and then possible gap up. But I'm not going to be stupid about it. Like, I'm not going to just hold this if it doesn't work. I'm just going to cut it, you know? I can be wrong, and when I'm wrong, I cut it. It sucks, but no big deal. I don't. This isn't the kind of chart to me where if I was trying to short this, I would want to be holding this over the weekend. Put it that way. It would bother me. I don't think there are too many people who like shorting going into the weekend. Period. But on the same token, there are a lot of people who don't like buying stocks and holding it into the weekend. So. John asked for listed swing. Do I always need a catalyst? Dude, like 90% of the time, at least. Like 95% of the time, maybe. It helps you sleep well. You know that there's interest and that there's a reason. If not, it could literally just be a chat pump. It could be some sort of manipulation, like whatever it is, and you can get caught up in it overnight. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's not. Especially overnight, like we're already in these risky stocks like intraday, but overnight, yeah, I'm almost always will have a catalyst. I won't say always. There are scenarios, you know what I mean? Like I've been preaching no midday trading all week, but I have taken what I still consider to be a midday trade. I mean, I started my position in, a little over 2 hours before the close, and that's still, I like to wait a little bit longer. But in this case, this is the scenario where I don't. It's just one of those, it's always on a case-by-case basis. I don't really like buying Friday afternoons. I don't really like buying over, more than 2 hours before the close, but it's not always, that's what's so cool is trading's not black and white. Like if you see an opportunity there, you try to take the opportunity, even if I'm wrong. And if this doesn't work out, it kind of reinforces more that maybe I took it too early, again, that kind of thing, or maybe I really don't like Friday afternoons that much. I'm up $1,000 on the trade right now, and I'm really tempted to take a little bit of profits off just to be safe. I can always add. I just don't want this to break down before high day, but if this breaks high day, then we should be kind of golden. I'm going to try to be as patient as possible. Jesse said, as a short seller, I would not with that gap right there. No way. Yeah, me neither. But there are a lot of people who are just shorting anything that moves, especially in this market climate. But I really do believe AWX may have woken us up a little bit, at least, just a little bit. I mean, and amidst such a slow market, we had a 2 to 8. We had like a 2 to 8 runner with no news, This was kind of like the only thing in play, and that's kind of how I feel right now about. That's kind of how I feel right now about SSLJ. Like, this is the only kind of stock that might be in play right now, other than CVSI, which had some really predictable movement this week, which is really cool. You know, in AWX, you could have kept buying the pools. Like, not that I would have. But I'm hoping next week it'll kind of wake up. So the only one with a chance for me is SSLJ, and it's not a typical pattern. You know, this is not something that's very typical, but the price action's good. The catalyst down was bad, but the catalyst up is also good, like kind of trying to even itself out, and no offering, more importantly. So we'll see if this thing can complete the reversal. Now, as far as expectations, I am not planning on holding this till $3 if I were to get a rip through 160 and 2 even. I will start taking profits pretty immediately if I get another rip through high day today. That's kind of where I'm looking to take some profits. If this doesn't break high day going into close, like, I'll be taking a little bit more off. But I'm still expecting a gap up as long as it's closing strong. Thompson, I could have. Yeah, I could have. But it's okay. To each their own. Joe sold way too soon, but that's good. I like selling way too soon, as much as I don't. And this is a scenario that, you know, appears very dangerous, and it is kind of dangerous still. I mean, this gap down didn't happen for no reason. That was a double negative there. This gap down happened for a reason, you know, and all this action happened for a reason. So, but clear reversal today. And like I said, I'm looking for gap up. And we're talking best case scenario and push back towards 3. In which case, I'm sure I'll be long gone by 250. You know what I mean? This is still bad news that did that to the stock. Regardless, like, their SEO is gone. They need someone. They have no management right now. And I have no clue about the company. It's friggin' the Republic of China. Like, I'm not saying that this is great news, like, but I am saying that there's potential here. So. So I will say, I mean, you have to try to look at a trade from all angles, and the only other issue for me at this point is just the fact that this is a really big bounce so far. Like, volume will have to take it through 160, but this bounce is, you know, there are a lot of people who are up 60% on their trade from this midday group. So if this trend line breaks down, I do expect to pull maybe back towards VWAP or something like that. But I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick to my risk for now. I'm going to try to let this kind of trend and consolidate into close. And if this breaks high day into close, I'm going to take whatever I have and go overnight with it. So only thing that would keep me from taking it overnight would be like an after hours spike into, and, you know, a parabolic spike into that gap, like going into after hours. And then I would just take the whole trade off and be done. Great trade going into the end of the weekend kind of thing. I'm going to need to see some more volume. You know, we've had this ramping volume. We've had this ramping volume for several days, but now it's kind of died off a bit, so I've got to be careful. And you always have to be aware of the volume while you're trading, especially. But all the time, volume is very important. There's a lot of buying volume right here, and if these levels start to break down, it could get kind of ugly, but I have to stick to my guns. Jesse said it's a recent IPO with record volume, gap just above. He's jealous. Yeah, no, it is, and that is another part that went into the equation for this trade. There's not a lot of trading history. It is a recent IPO. The flow will be decently low, like I said. Yeah, it's just one of those things that that got my attention. I'm in a freaking trade right now after only trading twice the last week and a half, so there's obviously a reason for it. Whether or not I'm wrong, we're still yet to see. But the calls were pretty right on this week, so I'm happy with at least my recognition of what's going on with these plays, in this current climate. If you're able to not trade, but have some sound theses at least, I've still been making a thesis on a lot of these plays, just not playing them because I didn't see anything I liked. But even Zest, like so funny. Didn't play it yesterday, but was watching it, and I really like the catalyst. They're working with Costco, keeping their vegetables fresh, and their OTC. It's one of those random. It's just one of those random things that sometimes a catalyst is good enough to at least do something to a stock for a couple days. And this made a big move, from the ones to 250 today. But like I said, it was just so illiquid. It traded decent volume several times. But, it's just one of those weird things where there's no real chart setup because there's not enough liquid, there's not enough volume throughout the day. Here's a 30-minute chart. I wouldn't be surprised to see another leg up. Broke out today, over $2 even. And here's a pull on SSLJ now. Well, it's a quick pull to 130. And that's where you're seeing a little trend line breakdown and then kind of a panic. A couple people panic out, and now we're right back over it. And that's why I don't stick to 1 minute trend lines like this. I really don't. It's not. I'm not saying if this breaks trend, I'm selling. I used to do that, and it screwed me up a lot in the past. I ended up missing a lot of moves because it was just kind of like a quick panic and then a reclaim. But a clear little breakdown. But we're looking at such a small time frame. That's why I'm not selling just because it broke down. That being said, we'll see what happens. Double top, I don't know. I'm not really looking to add right now. I'm just trying to respect risk. At this point, however, this little 1 minute trend line is kind of dead to me, so I'm not going to touch it. I just remove it. That was just kind of as a reference, for maybe if I'm trying to buy some, which I'm not. I don't want to be buying a double top into close, put it that way. I bought about 30 cents away in the end with my buy. Dom's asking about TORC. Yeah, and we followed this week. Huge gap up, big drop, and now basing here at $13 at a former low. Yeah, dude, I'm totally looking at this for next week. It's not something I'm necessarily going to start building a position on, but yeah, I'm going to absolutely kind of watch this, see if it can base a little longer, or see if it can break these highs, around $14, that kind of thing. Like a sign for a clear reversal on this. But if, we'll watch this into Monday and Tuesday, 100%. only other issue with this is that this could be topping out here at 160. You know, this chart maybe have set up a little too hard and it's not going to be able to reclaim. You know, that's a possibility. So I got to keep that in mind. And like I said, always look from both sides of the trade. See the pros and cons, weigh your catalyst, weigh the daily chart, weigh the volume, weigh the market conditions, your position size, where you are, everything. Float size, you know, all the possible pros and cons. Keep them running in your head and keep adjusting throughout a trade. You know, I haven't locked in any profits yet. I probably should have in the push to high a day. Normally that's what I do, but I didn't quite have the size I wanted, you know. I was trying to get up to maybe 12,000 shares on this trade, and I could be wrong. You know, that catalyst the SEO resignation may push on this stock a little bit harder than I had anticipated, and that's fine. But for me, for now, we got a higher low. You know, we got some lower highs and a higher low again. Like it wasn't necessarily up here, but it held 130. So we got a 130 hold, 125 hold, 115. These are kind of the levels that are setting up. I think 120 is going to be very important just based on this chart, obviously. It acted as support a little bit earlier. VWAP is going to be very important going into close, I think. So I'm watching these levels, and I'm going to adjust on the fly if need be. But I'm not just going to hold and hope, and I'm not just going to average down if this thing tanks. You know, I'll protect myself. There's a pretty big ass cup and handle on the 15-minute chart now. For now, pretty defined, pretty nice cup and handle. Which I don't trade just a cup and handle. I'm not like, there's a cup, I'm gonna buy a handle, or like, oh, it's doing a cup and handle. I don't really give a shit. But I do recognize when they're there because other people recognize that as well. So I'm not looking for that to trade like that pattern specifically. People do recognize it, you know. Very definitive cup and handle forming. If 130 can hold, you know, I see this ripping through high a day. If VWAP can hold, still might close near high a day. If they can't, I'll probably just take the trade off the table. In case I'm wrong, which I might be. And if there is that kind of doubt there, just be safe. So this is what patience looks like for me. It's kind of a lot of back and forth in my head at times. Like, should I, you know, as a human, you're always wondering, like, should I just take profits? Should I, you know, what should I do? But for me, this looks like to be intact still. So, yeah. So I have mixed feelings about this right now. It's not a slam dunk. It's not a home run. But like I said, size is decently under control. Average is okay. I do have a plan to cut, which is basically 115 at this point, even though I don't really want to do that. It'll be over $1,000 loss. That's ultimately what I'm going to be risking is, you know, about $1.15. All right. Any questions? Just rock some questions. A lot of times if I'm just trying to be patient, I'll just throw the 15-minute chart up there, and it kind of helps me a little bit just to see what's going on with the big picture of what this move's doing. So that's what you're watching now. It's a 15-minute chart. Why not just risk 130, Jesse said. I could at this point. You know, I absolutely could. But 130 is break even to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I've picked a risk level. 130 is, yeah, it's somewhat important, but it's not everything. This isn't like a very extremely important level in my opinion. Although that is where it did drop from earlier, you know. It's just one of those things that that I'm just trying to be patient, that's all, and respect my risk. I don't mind losing a couple $100 on this trade, $500 or so, whatever it is. I probably won't let it get down to $1.15. That's a bit too much. That was my initial plan when I had bought in here. Okay, so this is how things change, just to kind of give you perspective. When I was buying in here, I was risking 115, like at 130 on this dip too. When I'm buying this kind of stuff, that's why my risk was set at 115. If this were to have faded to 115 and then cracked, then I have to, you know, get it back down to $1. Probably goes back down to $1, and then I'm sitting, risking a little too much for my liking, and I didn't want it to close near 1. Like, that would bother me. And I probably wouldn't want to take that overnight, if that makes sense. But instead we got this rip. So yeah, I mean, you know, I may take it off a little bit early. But that's kind of the gist of why not just 130 at this point. You know, if I make or lose, if I break even or I lose like 300, 400, 500 bucks, to me, with my account size, that's pretty much the same thing. For you guys, it might be a little different, but that's kind of, you know, so it's a little bit different how risk is going to work for everyone. But for me, I'm just trying to be patient. I don't think 130 breaking down is necessarily the end of the world. You know, there's still VWAP sitting right there at $1.23. Yeah, it's like my max risk, exactly. That's like, okay, I'm just gonna take it off. Shit. And then revisit it if it were to like hold 1 or something instead of averaging down. So if this doesn't close near its highs, then my initial thesis, which was possible gap up, is pretty much kaput. Little Yiddish for you guys. So that's kind of the reasoning. It's not an exact science, you know what I mean? It's just a feeling you get, and you could be wrong or you could be right. But as long as as long as your thought process is sound and like your trade taking process is sound and your risk process is sound, like I have this trade completely under control. And the reward here, if my thesis were to come true, you know, is I could get maybe a point out of some of the shares at least, you know. And that's a big percent gain for a stock like this. So and we're getting another push, which really makes me very happy inside. And that 15-minute candle just completed. So this is looking great to me, you know. If this were to go parabolic after it breaks 160 and heads into the twos, like I am gonna be out and happy. But if it doesn't, I'm gonna be out anyways, so. Or I may have some into close. We'll see exactly what happens here. I think it's a good example because I haven't had any trades this week, really. So. But we are consolidating right below lows a day today. And we should be pushing it now. Awesome. All right. Huh. Just got halted. Sweet. Okay, so we got a halt going to close. I still have all my shares. I haven't sold any yet. Am I being a little bit greedy right now? Yes. If I had bigger size, I would have taken about 2,000 to 3,000 off if I got my full 10K that I wanted. Maybe I'm just being an absolute pig right now. You know, it's one of those things. But you know what? I think I can extend them a bit more. I mean, we still have an hour and 15 in the day. We're crossing over these 2 days already. And hell, let's get a gap over 180. I'll take it. So here's the thing. If in this case we start filling the gap into close, I'm going to take the whole trade off the table. Like if what I wanted to happen overnight happens now, I will take the whole trade off the table. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, Joe asked, had I taken any profits yet? I just answered, nope, not yet. And it could be foolish. So like patience, such a double-edged sword. Sometimes I could, if I may have been too patient, I could have made $1,000. Instead, I lose $400. Okay, that's the shitty side of the sword. Exactly right now, the position I'm in on this trade is the other side. Patience has worked out. I still have all 6,000 shares from $1.32 is my average right now. And we should get a gap up out of this halt, I'd imagine. It's a shame that it halted. It really is upsetting to me. You know, it kills momentum. It's super annoying. And they just do it randomly. Like, I know it's not random, they have a system, but... John said, great hearing thought process in a live trade. Thanks, dude. And, you know, we haven't had many. I haven't been trading. We haven't had many good trades for the last couple weeks. This could have turned out to be another dud, but as of right now, it's perfect. You know? Tom said, "What's my plan on these halt ups? Say you were in this AM from a buck. What would your game plan be going into the halt?" Yeah, dude, the halt resume. If we get any sort of gap up and spike, I'll take some off. I'm gonna take some off the table, just a little bit, even with just the 6,000 shares. Yeah. Problem with halts is, you never know. In my experience, halt to the upside means at least a little bit more upside. Halts to the downside, beware. That's pretty much how I feel about halts. So like a halt to the upside and then a pull, sometimes I'll still buy that if it's the first halt. If it's like the second and third halt, chances are eventually, shorts are going to come in and hit it pretty hard. So, but this, like I said, this is a scenario that's dangerous to be short overnight, especially. Should get legs going into the close. People, it's all you have to. So like the PR, what got my attention is like, you have to think about the public perspective on this, which is like, oh my gosh, like it dropped for no reason. That's what people are trying to think. Proper perspective is no, it dropped for a very serious reason. An SEO resigning, usually not a good thing. But I'll take that kind of gap as opposed to a financing gap any day of the week. I'm not concerned about being dumped on by, a third party at this point. Just how do I figure what I take off? Percentage base? No. If I have 6,000 shares, I'll just sell it in 2,000 share chunks, that kind of thing. It's a feel. It's kind of a feel. If we're approaching a really serious resistance level, I'll take even more off. It's that kind of game. But that is exactly where you want to be in a trade. That is the absolute best problem to have. Is like, where do I take profits, right? That's where you want to be in every trade. For me, I'm going to take some off into the unhalt just to lock some in. I'm up almost $2,000 right now. We'll watch the price action. Okay, so I just took 1,000 off. I just locked in a little bit on 1,000 shares. I'm going to try to be extra patient. I have a specific thesis I'm trying to stick to right now. It may not work. Like I said, patience even at this point may screw me a bit. That once you get into this halt game, it gets really annoying. So I like that high day breakout held there at $1.60 as of right now. And that's what kept me in this trade without taking too much off the table so far. If 160 broke down, I'd be more likely to have sold a little bit more, just in case. So now we're getting into this territory here where we're hitting this gap. 184, we just hit 183. It's natural that it's going to pull there. It's very natural it's going to pull there. I do want to see more volume. I think the halt, kind of takes some of that momentum away on that high day break, which really sucks and kind of gives me a little cause for concern. So I'm watching price action. I'm gauging it. We're in the moment. It's not like I'm going to let my bias on this gap fill totally cloud my mind and take away a really solid gain. But I'm going to try to stick to my guns, So I sold 1,000 more just in case. I'm down to 4,000 shares. I've locked in almost $1,000 just in case. I've got about 1,400 unrealized. Jesse said it's in the gap. It's not quite all the way in the gap. We got to get over this little period here, in my opinion, just to be truly in the gap on the chart. This day, a high this day of 184. That's my gap. That's what I'm looking for the gap. And I believe that's why it's pulling at 183. It's just like short sitting there ready to go. And I'm being quiet, but that's because I'm just trying to watch this thing. I want to see a real squeeze. That's all I want to see. I don't think it's begun to squeeze yet, even. Like, this is the making of a squeeze, but not a true squeeze yet. There are going to be people who have been shorting this thing for the last several weeks. All of these days, there should have been some shorting going on. It was doing decent volume these days. I mean, nothing big, but hundreds of thousands of shares. Big time potential overnight. Yeah, 184, Jesse. Boom. And it topped out at 183 so far. So you got to keep the big picture in mind, and obviously we have the small picture in mind. But this is not random, A gap up over high a day like this should have been a home run, kind of into close. But with the halt and then 184 so close above, and then a little stuff there, There are going to be people hitting it with size here, whether or not they should be. And it may work out perfectly. It's the last bit of resistance on this daily chart. Sometimes you're not going to get this fill if that's why I don't like gap fills. But in these particular circumstances, I'm okay with the risk. I've already locked in profits. Now my size is even smaller. And I can be super patient. Really easy. So the cool thing is I'm in a scenario now where basically no matter what, I will be profitable on this trade, which is my favorite place to be. But I'm going to need to see this press soon, or I'll have even more patient. I'll probably take a little bit more off the table just in case. Maybe go into close with like 3,000 shares. If this were Monday afternoon, I mean, I may have been adding, Not right now, but I may have been adding a bit earlier on that 130 pool. Ben, 184 because that is the last high on this day. Here's the gap. Here's that day. The high here is 184. So 30-minute time frame. Right here, 184. Zoom in for you. Right there. That's where it gapped down to. So we'll see what happens here. Where's my risk right now? If this breaks down below 160, you know, I'll take a little bit more off the table just in case. And then I'll just take my 2,000 shares and basically risk 130. Like, you know, I would hate to give up this kind of gain even on 2,000 shares. But I'm going to have conviction in my thesis still for the time being. I may take it all off at 160 and then maybe grab some shares. I just don't really want this to be closing like, you know, kind of so-so into the close. Like if this is down to 130, that's given up a lot of gains. And then we're back kind of like, you know, it may be backside already. So it could be a failure. You know, this could have literally just double topped right now and I just have to be nimble about it. That's all. You know, it's not exact. I can't let like my thesis blind me from price action and a double top. You know, that's amateurish. But we're consolidating right below the level right now. You know, we're consolidating still. I want to see what's going to happen with the consolidation into close. I won't be the only person trading this thinking like, you know, this is kind of the only thing in play right now. You know, I don't think there would be too many shorts who would be very bearish at this point on this chart, you know. Come on now. Jesse said my thesis overruled the topping action at 150 and trendline break. Yep, 100%. 100%. You know, I'm just trying to be patient. My gains weren't huge at that time. My risk was still completely in control. The chart to me is still intact just because, like I said, just because a 5-minute or 1 minute trend line breaks when it's only had, you know, touched it 3 times anyways, is not enough to make or break a trade for me. I'm still using risk levels and important levels, which to me is like 184 and 160. So like it's totally natural for a stock to pull back at high a day. You know, it tried to push it. It got to like 156 over here right after 2. That's totally natural, this pull. And it doesn't surprise me that it pulled here and broke down from the trend line shortly after. You know, it's not exact. So when the trend line broke, you get some sellers, and that was your entry at 130. When 130 hold, it's still a higher low, and then just quickly pressed, which is sweet. And this is really consolidating well right here, so I am going to be more patient again. You can see, man, you know, it's not like you have to be nimble. You have to kind of keep analyzing the price action. But yeah, stick to your guns. You know, if you have a good thesis in your head and you have conviction, just stick to it. I've got a great average right now. You know, I'm in a great position to take this overnight if I want. I mean, if this is closing at the gap, you can almost, you know, I mean, I would put my money, which it is there, but I would put it on a gap up. Come on now. Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. Sweet. Cool beans, guys. Cool beans. So right now I feel very greedy, guys. And I hate feeling greedy, but I'm sticking to my guns. I may just sell a little bit more just to really relieve this feeling of greed. So here's the cool thing: is like right now we're literally in uncharted territory. I mean, this is the kind of gap that like there's just nothing there. There's no resistance till 3 on the chart, and so like I'm pretty happy right now. I mean, I think I'm gonna really stick to this and see if we can actually fill this gap. Not to $3, but if I get a push through 2, I will take most of my position off. Very cool. What's 2? 2's nothing. There's nothing there. 2 is obviously a round number, and it's going to react to 2. So 2 is also important to me. It's not nothing, but there's no clear resistance there. You know, we're through all the clear resistance. Anyone short over the last 2 weeks is now red. Anyone, every single person. There's not one short in the green. Now maybe there are, hit 196, but they are 4 cents in the green. So I'm hoping for some more squeeze. This will be everyone's top watch on Monday morning. But I don't want to be an idiot. You know, if this fails, I have to be aware of it and just take my gains, which is okay. You know, gap fill is not a guarantee. Whew. It's good to get some action at least, finally. I've been itching, guys. I've been itching. Come on now. Pardon my silence. I'm just watching it, guys. Trying to be patient. Like, my cell finger is so itchy right now. It's not even funny. Very itchy trigger finger. You know, this is kind of a parabolic move over the last little while. The price action sped up a lot. Here's a pull. All right, I sold 1,000 more just in case. I'm down to 3K. But I'm not going to panic out with all my shares. It'll be a natural reaction to $2 failing to pull back. I would like for it to close up in this gap. That would make me happy. This is up a lot. It's up 200% today, you know? It's up a lot. So that's also something I'm trying to keep in mind. There are a lot of people sitting pretty on their trade already. Any questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask. Still watching, still trying to be patient. I'll tell you, my only issue with this play is that it's up so much, and that this is a 200% spike to this gap. You know, it may have overextended itself a little today. But that being said, the chart's set up okay. Like, you know, we got through high day, end of day. It held on the dip. I expect 170 and 160 to hold possibly. You know, 170 should hold. There was some consolidation there. Might get some end of the day dip buyers looking for gap fill into Monday. 160 was the breakout level earlier. I expect that to hold possibly from shorts here in this position who may have been trying to kind of bide their time through this period. Something like that, you know, that kind of idea. As long as it's finishing up by these highs, I'm going to try to swing these 3K overnight. If this is closing in the 180s, 190s, I am going to try to hold it. If this is closing in like the 150s, 140s, it may give me a little cause for concern. But at least I've locked in, you know, really good profits already. over 1500. And yes, this could be a great thing. Maybe this gets some runners going again here into August. That would be sweet. Another issue is there could be a lot of people who are thinking gap fill, and if it fails, then this could start heading back towards a $1.50, $1.40, $1.30. I mean, it's one of those things. I've got 3K shares right now out of 6. I wish this was a Monday, put it that way, and not a Friday. But at the same time, the Friday may be helping, just considering, that there should be a lot of shorts not wanting to hold a play like this into the weekend, where there's no real level to risk off of. All right. Yeah, look at AWX. Isn't that nuts? Just squeezing into the close. Just so crazy. Probably a day 5 in this freaking thing, and I missed all of it. But you know what? Like, day 4, no thank you. Like, and I was just actually looking at this a couple minutes ago, and this daily chart, I was thinking it was still green. Like, it was sitting here in the low 6s, just sitting green. Pretty crazy. So AWX, this is just one of those charts I love. Like, I look at it in awe, and this is the definition of potential when trading these things. You know what I mean? They can just keep squeezing and squeezing, and early shorts and even late short, like just shorts in general, are going to keep squeezing the thing. Which is why if I were a short seller, I would not share secrets. Like, really. I would not want people shorting with me and then squeezing me. That'd be so annoying. But yeah, this is the true potential there. And this is the kind of chart where I really don't give a crap that I missed any of it, There was no rhyme or reason, and there's just nothing I could do about that. So, meanwhile, SSLJ did try to reclaim there, and now it's going to get halted to the downside, possibly. I hope not. Now, this pull does bother me a little bit more because we're kind of have a lower low. And could get some panic, but still, circumstances aside, I'm still going to try to be a little bit patient with these 3,000 shares. I don't like this 190 stuff one bit. That does bother me. That bothers me a whole lot. You can kind of see this thing's a little bit overextended right now already. So, it's a tough call. And this is the ebbs and flows of a trade, you know? It's not always just like perfect. And this is why, you know, people just get spooked out by everything, because it does suck when a stock pulls back, but it's going to do that. Like, but if 160, 170 hold, I mean, it sucked in some more shorts at least. And that's the only thing I can think that'll make this, you know, squeeze through 2 even better if it does. If not, you know, I'm still sitting pretty in the trade, so I'm okay. I've locked in half profits. I'm totally golden on this trade. And this is what allows me to be patient. Had I not locked in profits already, then, you know, I'd be a little bit upset right now, but I have, so. Look at AWX. Just killer, man. Just totally killer. I love it. I'm hoping it wakes things up. Let's get some buyers coming in and wake this market up, you know? I mean, that's just nuts. But that's what happens, man. So much potential here. It's not even crazy. It's not even funny. It's why I love, love, love what I do, you know? This is just nuts. You know, this could push to 10 now. I mean, it's just like unreal. Jesus, that's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. But it had a pattern, you know? Pull the pullback to, by the 3 pullback, by the 4 pullback, by the 550 pullback. Buy the 6 pullback, buy the 7 pullback. Yeah, that's okay though. You know, I missed it and I'm not upset. You know, I mean, a part of me is like, shit, I missed that whole thing. How does that happen? But that's because I don't really buy day 2 or day 3, you know, unless that's what's happening. If we get a bunch of multi-day runners like this, then maybe I'll look into day 2s way more, you know? David said if I had a small account, would I have stuck to my thesis on SSLJ or take profits? So like if I was under day trader rule and I say I had like 5 or 6,000 shares, I still would have sold some, you know? Now it is kind of trending down where it's going in at close, which does bother me a little bit, but like I said, I've got a great average. It's still holding up above high day break from earlier. But there's a big crack again. So, you know, this is a little cause for concern for me here. Now we're finishing 30 cents off their highs and back under that gap level. We're getting panic into close, so we'll see. Still trying to be patient. So I think it may have just been halted. It was just halted to the downside now. So here's that double-edged sword, exactly what I was talking about. Maybe I'm being a little too patient, but I'm trying to stick to my plan. You know what I mean? And sometimes, you know, I'm going to lose out on some gains, but that's the only way I also get great gains, is by having appropriate amounts of patience. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I may just take the rest off the table, you know? Take like the $2,600, $2,700 and run. Ben asked, would I buy a big panic back to VWAP? Not necessarily. I mean, this thing's still up 170%. And like I said, I hate end of day fades, or I hate, you know, dip buying panics end of day. That being said, I may consider it. You know, I may consider adding and trying to catch a bounce, but it's just one of those games that you know, I just want this trade to be done and profitable. The only thing I don't like is the timing. You know, if this were a panic any other time after a chart like this, yeah, like I would be looking. It's just the timing. I don't like end of day panics. I wanted this to close near its highs, you know, and then squeeze and then gap up. And that, so now my, you know, my thesis doesn't look as good. Doesn't look as good to me. If it closes down in the 140s, 150s, then, you know, that's not good. You got a big wick there, and we'll have a bunch of overhead resistance. Yeah, man. So it is a little bit of a bummer what's happening right now in this price action. I don't like it as much, you know. It's now built up some resistance overhead in and of itself just in the intraday. So I was a little too patient here for now. We'll see what happens on this unhalt. I just don't like that panic. Bothers me. But this thing is, you know, overextended on the day. I mean, if you look at the 15-minute chart, you know, over the last since noon, it's just been pretty crazy. It's up basically 100% since noon from where it was. So this pool doesn't surprise me, and now we're opening up in the 140s, which blows my mind. But I am gonna possibly add to my position down here a little bit. I just hate end-of-day panics like this. I mean, that was an ugly gap down there. Very ugly. Cool. Ben said, would SSLJ be positional or momentum? A little bit of both, but very positional. So, I mean, I had risk intact, but momentum had picked up, you know? We had gotten some volume come in, so a little bit of both. Yeah, but that was an ugly unhalt, you know? Pretty tough call on what to do. I'm tempted to take the rest of my profits off the table at this point. My only issue is this. I mean, this kind of action really kind of reeks backside to me, but trying to keep the big picture in mind, which is that it was overextended there and had to pull a little bit at least. Volume's kind of dead. You know, it's one of those things where the momentum has shifted quite a bit. That was a big pull, the 190 into the 140s on 3,000 shares. It does bother me now that I got a little greedy. She asks, how hard will I be watching this after hours if I hold shares over the weekend? I'll be watching it very closely. I'll be watching it very closely. If this thing can't bounce into close here, I'm going to take the trade off the table. That's my plan at this point. I'm not going to let money slip away on 3,000 shares. Basically 160. If we're not closing in this kind of 160 range, then I will be a little less happy. Sorry guys, just watching, just concentrating. Meanwhile, the AWX is busting through 9. Totally missed that one, which is okay with me. Amazing squeeze on AWX. Simply amazing. Such a good squeeze. So crazy. Unreal what AWX is doing right now. Unreal. Four sets of synthesis skyrocketing off no news. What's the chances it goes back to where it started? Very good. But you never know. I mean, moves like this can do funny things. It may never get back down to the twos. My money is it gets back down to the twos. It's just a matter of when. But it may not. It may hold the fives or the threes. There's really no way of knowing for sure. And the fact that people were thinking that this was going to go down back to the twos is like the reason for this whole move in the first place. So SSLJ right now to me is like in a downtrend. Could be the back end of the move already. That may be it. We have some lower highs now. The only thing keeping me in this trade is this low right here. It's another higher low, but that's it for me. We'll see. Got a little too greedy with these remaining shares, but it's part of the game. The important thing was I did take profits at least and protect myself into the high day break. Maybe the fact that we got into the gap territory made me a little bit too gung-ho on the overnight. When I should have just taken the full profits and walked. But like I said, part of the game. All right, so I did just sell another 2,000 shares. I've got 1,000 shares left. So why am I not shorting it? Well, first of all, it's day one. There is still a gap fill if this were to gap up, but now my thesis is almost completely deteriorated, and this is closing, sub 150s as of right now. It just got halted. It didn't get halted. Okay. So VWAP, last line of defense, and that's kind of where I'm going to play these last 1,000 shares. Not a big deal. Oh, AWX, cause it's still squeezing. It's making higher highs still. Now's not the time to go in, like on a Friday afternoon. This could easily gap up through 10. Like, it's pretty crazy. So kind of a bummer on my second half of my shares, but it's okay. You know, this is the game, man. This is the game. And I'm human just like everyone, so this pullback definitely sucks. This is could be the end of this move, easily. But I've locked in most of my gains, you know? Still made you know, over $2,000 going into the close today, so I'm happy with it. So that psychological level of $2, you know, held as a good resistance. And then you got to close into panic, which I don't like buying them. But we'll see what it does here. You know, it's down a lot. There's only about 15 minutes left in the day. But momentum is killed for this stock, you know? Momentum's dead right now, so. AWX, unreal. That's a squeeze, guys. That is a major, major squeeze. So I'm all out of SSLJ. About $2,400 on this trade. Could have been 3,400, I think, had I sold all in the 190s. So I did miss out on 1,000 so far. That's okay. No big deal. Oh, I still have a couple. I still have like 20 shares for some reason. That's weird. But I'm glad I got out. I'm glad I didn't just sit here holding this thing, you know? Although I did get rid of some of my shares on the backside, my position was good enough where I still profited, you know? And I took profits when I needed to, so it was, could have been much worse. But that is a dump. That is a terrible dump. You know, this is something I may consider buying here soon. Like, we know it can move. I'm not gonna, I really don't want to dip by panic into close like this, like I said. Tom said, would I say premature end of day move on SSLJ? Yeah, 100%. 100%. Just a little bit too early in the day, and then when too stuffed, it couldn't recover. So. You know, to be honest, if this gets down to like $1, I may consider dip buying it again. Or for the first time. You know, this is a huge drop, like a 50% drop into close. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. I'm gonna shut them off and get going. But it was cool. We got an end of day trade in today, so that's pretty cool. Got 2 trades this week. Kind of got to see both sides of patience there. You know, a little too patient, missed out on $1,000, but.